Daytona International Speedway, one of the world's fastest racetracks and home of the Daytona 500. 72 teams have come to Daytona to battle the high banks for 42 slots in the biggest race of the Winston Cup season. The number 11 of Junior Johnson's Budweiser racing team is here for a shot at victory lane. The 1960 winner of the Daytona 500, Junior Johnson, has won the 500 3 times as a car owner. With two-time winner Bill Elliott piloting the Ford Thunderbird, the Budweiser racing team expects to see number 11 running up front. The Daytona 500 is Winston Cup's first and biggest race. A good finish at Daytona sets the pace and creates the momentum for the rest of the season.
Well, when we get to the racetrack and practice sessions and everything, you'll normally, at most speedways, check in on a Thursday or Friday. And the first thing that happens, you try to prepare the car for qualifying.
When we first get to the track, we're concerned about qualifying. We want to go fast for a couple of laps, and we don't care after that. After qualifying's over with, then we look to go as fast as we can for several laps. And that's, you probably detune your motor just a little so it'll last 500 miles or 500 laps on a short track, something like that. We try to keep most of the miles off of our race motors, use them mainly for the race. 500 or these restrictor plate motors probably go 600 or 700 miles. But a lot of times in a qualifying motor, you'll have more compression, it'll be more on the ragged edge, have lighter weight components inside, things that you don't really feel comfortable racing. It takes us about an hour to switch an engine. We can do it a little less if we really need to, but usually about an hour, maybe an hour and 15 minutes.
And like when we put motors in, I usually do the left side of the motor. It's power steering pump, the bottom water hose, and the header, and the clutch linkage. And everybody stays in the same spot, you know, changing motors and in the shop too. Everybody's got kind of a general area they look after.
Well, in a qualifying setup, you know, we try to set the car up loose. We'll put a little more right rear spring in it. We'll run the track bar a lot higher than we will when we race. We'll put just a little split in the front springs, just to keep the car free and rolling through the corner to where it don't slow the car down any and scrub off any speed. And the race, a lot of times we'll take that 50-pound split out of the back, maybe put a little more wedge in the car, change to a little different shock, maybe put a little more right front spring in it to keep him comfortable all day long, and go race.
Racing is a team sport, and no one team member is responsible for the car's success or failure. But each team has a leader, and the Budweiser racing team looks to crew chief Mike Bean.
You know, if we have a problem, I just soon fall on my shoulders to someone else because I don't know. Some crew chiefs, you don't ever see them get dirty. But there again, that's their style. But but they do very well. But in my situation, I want to be able to control it. I guess I want to be a part of it. I don't want. In plus fact, I don't ask my guys to do anything I wouldn't do. I mean, no matter what it is.
I don't know anybody in this garage area that works as hard as those boys do. And, sometimes if work's what it takes to win races, then they ought to win every one they've been in.
When you set out to put a team together like the Budweiser team, you go after experience, determination, and willpower to do whatever it takes to be a winner, honest, devoted people.
Preparing a car for race day is an endless process of refinements, calculations, and instinct. When the car appears ready, a final check is done before taking the car through NASCAR's technical inspection.
You have to get your car prepared for inspection, which is every week. They inspect the cars for safety, and
engine, fuel cell. They check the underneath the car for all the safety stuff, as well as if anybody's trying to do anything illegal.
Each week, the ritual of pushing the car to NASCAR inspection is practiced. The car is filled with gas to bring the machine to race-ready weight. The adrenaline begins to flow. The team is having months of work scrutinized by NASCAR inspectors. One turn of the wrench, pressing the car too low to the ground, could send the team back to the garage to rework the car and lose valuable practice time. The body template for the Ford Thunderbird is placed on the car. Body-specific templates for Fords, Chevrolet, and Pontiacs are used to ensure that every car conforms to the standards set by NASCAR rules. Each component is measured and inspected to guarantee that each team puts a car on the track that's technically equal to every other car. This attention to detail is what makes Winston Cup racing the most exciting and competitive in the world. With a successful inspection behind them, the team can focus on the job at hand, qualifying for 2 laps to get Bill Elliott and the Ford Thunderbird to circle the 2.5-mile Daytona International Speedway faster than any other car. The garage area is buzzing with activity as each team goes through inspection and prepares to get their car out on the track. Rain is always a consideration in Daytona. The threat of one canceled practice session makes each practice lap extremely important.
We're running qualifying laps, so we go out and run 1 and 2, 3 laps to see how good the car is, whatever you're going to do as qualifying. So I time those laps. That's what I do when we first get here, is to time those laps and try to let Bill and Mike Jr. know sort of where we stack up against some of the other cars.
The crew, having prepared the car with a qualifying setup, sends Bill Elliott out to get a feel for the car and the track. Waiting on pit road for his turn to practice, Bill and the crew feel the tension and excitement of having an entire winter's work come to this moment. The team members, anxious to analyze their efforts, are atop the transporter for a clear view of the track. Looking down at the car, it's now in the driver's hands. Bill Elliott thunders the number 11 onto the track. It'll take a full lap to get the 3,500-pound car up to speed. The crew times each lap. After a couple of warm-up laps, the car is running at full speed. Each team member is looking for anything that can push this car a little faster. Handling, engine, racing lines, everything is considered, noted, and will later be tested. Bill brings the car into the pits. A full lap is needed to slow the car enough to bring it safely onto pit road. Lightweight brakes are used for practice and qualifying, and without a cool-down lap, the brakes will not slow the car enough to bring it in. With a couple of practice laps down, Bill and the team feel the car can go faster. Back to the garage to compare notes with the driver and for some minor adjustments. Bill Elliott will take what he's learned from this practice session and work with the team to make the car as fast as possible, while at the same time make it as comfortable as can be. At speeds approaching 200 miles per hour, a driver must feel comfortable and confident the car will respond quickly and precisely.
Well, a lot of times whenever the car comes in after practice, we check the toe in or put it on scales, because if Bill likes it, we want to see where we're at on the weight distribution. And like I said before, the plug checks, check the plugs, check the carburetor if you need to make an adjustment with that, or a gear change if we need a little more gear, a little less gear, or spoiler adjustment, or height of the car, because here at Daytona you have to run a certain quarter panel height, and you have to be aware of that all the time, because if the car gets slower, it'll get faster, and you want to have a true test, when you go out and practice.
Yeah, we changed the rubber in the right rear. Just basically tightened everything up, safety wired it, and got it ready to race. Let me run that thing.
They don't get used to that.
It's all yours.
Give me one to join the race. We're gonna have a jack man. We can't have two cameramen.
You just got to see what happens. You just got to run 125 mile and kind of play it by ear and just see, just what unfolds, how your car drives, and because after a day you'll make a adjustment on the chassis or motor, or gear selection, and you just kind of go from there. That's a wrap. That's a wrap. Hey. Good.
For the 500 is a two-stage process. The Sunday preceding the 500, the pole position is set, and the starting grids for the twin 125-mile qualifying races are solidified. The field is broken into two groups, and each is running their own 125-mile race. Finishing position in the 125 will determine the starting positions in the 500. Teams can improve their position on the 500 grid with a strong finish in their qualifying race. The 125s are the first real race situation these teams will experience for the year. Emotions are high as final preparations are made. Each detail has been checked and rechecked. Team owners and fans alike share pace lap anxiety as the starting grid takes shape, and Bill Elliott and the Junior Johnson team get ready to race. The road to Winston Cup is different for everyone. Racing with the Winston Cup team is a way of life.
When I got started in racing, my father was involved even way in the early 60s. He never drove. He owned race cars, had different people drive them. They even had cars that ran here in Daytona in the early 60s in the different divisions. I think then they had modified and sportsman. And what was Winston Cup was called Grand National at that time. I don't think they ran any Grand National stuff, but I was 7, 8, 9, 10 years old along at that time, so I really didn't keep up with it that much. But I was able to, when I got old enough to start driving, he bought a race car. My older brother Ernie and myself kind of put the deal together, and at that time my older brother Ernie was also doing engine work, and building some race car stuff. So between that, I was working with him. We built some cars and just started racing, and I was able to be pretty successful right off, and I continued to work hard throughout the deal. And my father always wanted me to run NASCAR and in this series, and one thing led to another, and we started running it, and then we got involved with another guy by the name of Harry Melling out of Jackson, Michigan. And my father at that time was about to the point he couldn't spend any more money, when sponsorship was hard to come by and this, that, and other. And Harry Melling took us to the next step. You know, then we came along, we got some other good sponsorships and went through the next several years, and then, you know, 2 years ago I signed on with Junior and Budweiser, and here I am to this point.
My job is really, I'm the crew chief. I kind of handle the cars, you know, and stuff at the shop, kind of manage the team at the shop and at the racetrack. You know, I'm in charge of make sure people gets here, you know, build race cars, and a lot of things, you know, chassis work, aerodynamic work, and, you know, pit stops, call the, you know, the strategy in the pits when me and Junior does that together. So it's a lot of, you know, you wear a lot of hats, different ones. Sometimes you're a, you know, you're a chassis man, sometimes you're an aerodynamic man, and sometimes you're a babysitter, and, you know, so it's a lot of things goes into it.
We are really up against running what we run right now. We work our teams. We basically have 2 teams now working on one car instead of one team. You got a team back at the shop right now that's preparing cars for the next race, and then, you know, you got your own road guys that's at the racetrack right now to finish up this. They'll just go in, load up, re-equip, and head out again the following week. So it's already a 2-team operation for one race car.
I've known Mike Beam for a long time, and I've worked for him now full-time for 2 years now for Junior. You know, I was on the Bud car and got moved to the Max Pals car with Mike, and we worked together good, and then Junior moved me back to the Bud car, and Mike's there. Charles Wright and, you know, Terry Wooten and us guys, Shorty Edwards and all those, we get along real good. That's just the way it's supposed to be. If you're going, you know, that's the way teamwork is.
Guys fooling around with you right now?
Yeah, they're always messing around with me.
I got involved with racing with Bobby Isaac back when I was a kid, I guess. He was racing. I would go with him and, you know, help him drive home from races. We were neighbors. That's basically how I got involved in it.
I was working in a factory, building fuel tanks for a semi, and I was talking to a friend that I worked with, and, you know, told him I'd like to find a job in racing. And it was about, I'd say about a week later, he come knocking on the door about 9 o'clock one night, and he said, "I got something for you." And he brought in a newspaper, and there was an ad, top-notch Winston Cup team taking applications. So I called it, and it was Larry McReynolds and Kenny Bernstein, and I talked to them for just a little bit, and they wanted me to come down and talk to them, so I drove down and talked to them, and they told me, you know, they had 275 applications, and not to be discouraged if I didn't get the job, that might get it the next time. And I left there that night about, I guess, about 10:30 after I got a tour of the shop with Kenny and Larry and John Dangler. And I think it was on a Thursday. I was there on a Monday, and on a Thursday, Kenny called, wanted to know if I was still interested, and I told him yes, and I went back down there for another interview with John, and I got the job.
We live in this trailer more than we actually live at our own homes. Most of our guys fly, which I drive this here truck and look after the parts and the food and you know, anything that we would need at this racetrack, I have to put it on this truck.
You know, going into this thing, you're going to be up against a lot of work. I enjoy building motors because it's a challenge. Sometimes at the racetrack, I kind of get away from some of the things I really like to do, like work with motors, work with dynos, and then go to the racetrack and see what you got, and then if that's no good, try something else. And that goes on all the time with all these teams. It's just not us, it's everybody.
Sometimes I'd like to drive, but then you see an accident or something, you know, and you think that you'd want to, but after seeing some of the accidents I've seen and having to work on some of the accidents I've had to work on, it takes a special breed to drive, and it takes a special breed to work on them, and I think I'd be more comfortable working on them.
See, I don't do very much traveling on the highways. The majority of my stuff I do flying. So, you know, as far as actually driving, all my driving is normally just short trips. You know, I never just get out on the highway and drive, you know, 8 hours from Atlanta to Daytona or something like that. You know, I normally fly. So, I mean, flying kind of fills that void that racing, leaves off in the other side. If I'm out riding in just a regular road car on the highway, I'd rather be riding in the back than in the front. Just from the standpoint of if I can't drive, I'd rather be in the back.
What are you gonna do on Monday?
We're gonna probably stay home, play with the dogs, work in the yard, do things like that. That's kind of how we relax. Bill likes to ski, snow skiing, and he only got a chance to do that once last year. And that's really his relaxing. But to tell you the truth, he gets on these big old John Deere tractors and knocks down trees, and that's his therapy. I go to the races with him, so we travel together, and it makes it a lot easier. A lot of the wives don't have that luxury. A lot of these crew guys' wives certainly don't have that luxury. They have children in school. They have to stay home, and it's hard. I would imagine it's very hard on them.
Now my role has changed quite a bit, just from the standpoint of I can go home and I can live kind of a normal life. I mean, when I started racing, we worked 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and there was no time for anything else. And I mean, it took a toll on me. It took a toll on my family, and it was really a tough situation. But on the other hand, I was able to be successful. But how do you weigh that out?
Yeah, it's hard on your family. It takes a very special wife and children. Like my daughter's birthday was yesterday, Valentine's Day. But I did get to see her and spend some time. And she's 10 years old, and I hadn't really been with her about 4 or 5 times on her birthday. Just to be able to spend the afternoon with her and have a birthday cake. So they sacrifice a whole lot.
You can take your family with you on the road, and that's a drag on them that they don't particularly care for. Or you can leave them home, and they don't particularly care for that either. And neither do you or some of the guys. But it's a sport that it's something that you've got to accept. If you're going to race, you're going to be gone from home a lot.
Bill Elliott and the number 11 team continue to move up through the field in their 125-mile race.
And as far as like him going and sitting there and signing autographs and smiling and everything, all I can say is that's why he's the most popular driver.
I like to do things out away from the racetrack because I can be more myself to the fans, and the people can kind of see me out of this particular circumstance. Because you can go out on a racetrack and one thing can happen, and it can totally change my attitude just all of a sudden. If I have a bad day or something goes wrong or something's not going exactly right. But once I can get it out of here and get it out of my mind, then I can focus on what I'm doing as far as race fans or sponsors.
I think if you stop and look at who got us here and what it's all about, it's the fans. It's not me, Bill Elliott, or anybody else. Without the fans, we wouldn't be here. And I think a day whenever we snub our nose at the fans, we're done.
Bill pulls in for the first pit stop of the year. A choreographed chaos erupts in all directions as each member of the pit crew moves with surgical precision around the idling race car. Tires are changed, gas is added, the windshield is cleaned, air intakes are cleared, all in less than 18 seconds. The team regroups, ready for the next pit stop. Bill moves up several positions as a result of his team's work. The 125 for Bill Elliott and the team is a success. The work now begins for race day. All that came before is forgotten. The focus is now on the Daytona 500. Race day is pressure. It begins early. The motor is changed. Brakes, wheels, and safety equipment are checked. Tires are prepared. The pit support crews, known as the Weekend Warriors, arrive and everyone has on their game face.
Race day, you wake up about 5 o'clock, your stomach's already in a knot. You wonder how everything's going to go. You wonder if you've done the right thing on the car. You wonder if everybody's going to get here, if it's foggy, if the plane's going to land, your pit crew's going to be here. So, I mean, you can think of a million things that could happen. Between 6 o'clock and noon, you're just a bundle of nerves, because you hope there's something you hadn't overlooked, and then hope everybody, like I say, I hope everybody's going to be okay and safe, and then about 11 o'clock, you're ready to go. Just, let's line them up and let's have at it.
Yeah, race day is definitely pressure, and here more than anywhere, because everybody wants to win the Daytona 500. It'd be the ultimate goal to win the Daytona 500.
Fans come to Daytona from across the country for a chance to experience the biggest spectacle in motorsports. Enough people converge on Daytona each February to populate a medium-sized city, a community of some 200,000 strong with one thing in common, a love of racing. Nowhere else in the world can more loyal and devoted fans be found than at the Daytona 500. In the pits, the mood is all business. The anticipation is great, the pressure intense, and the excitement high. Each team member concentrates, playing over and over in their mind each turn of the wrench and each upcoming pit stop, visualizing and actually seeing themselves race to victory lane. They all know that victory depends on each and every person doing their job. The drop of the green brings relief and excitement. There's no more preparing now. A fast car and one of the best drivers ever to pilot a race car gives the Junior Johnson team a better chance than most at a quality finish. The first pit stop, tires, gas, and emotional discharge. The team is off and running. With the first pit stop, a sense of involvement sweeps the team. Lead changes and entire races can be won and lost in the pits. The race is no longer only Bill's, it belongs to the whole team. The year's Daytona 500 is over. For Bill, it's time for some much-needed rest. For Junior and Mike, it's the beginning of plans for next week's race.
Good finish for Daytona. If you can come in and finish in the top 10, you want to win, but if you can come in and finish in the top 10 and go home, and, you can feel pretty good.
It feels good, salvage a top 10 finish. First time out, especially, we kind of struggle down here, and maybe we can go to Rockingham and do a lot better, maybe better tonight.
We ran terrible, compared to what our standards are, but we evaluated the problem. We know what it is, so we're going to go home and build a new car, and so, but we come out here last year like 34th, and we battled our way up, so this year we're pretty excited because I think now we can make a run at them, getting the year off started right.
How was last night and this morning for you?
It wasn't too good, to be honest with you, because I knew it wasn't going to run that well because we throwed everything at the car and it never responded, so we needed some luck. We needed a break, and the Lord answered our prayers, so, we survived, and, now we can leave here with a race car and a healthy driver and a healthy crew, and so we're looking forward to going to Rockingham because we ran third there last time there, and taking the same car, and, hopefully the racing gods will shine on us and we'll be all right.